All right, good morning, Bears. I'm in my outside office today as we dive into our case study into Alicia's medical condition. Remember, Alicia was tired all the time, but she eats right, she sleeps right, so we think it's a medical condition. So we're diving into our Sims to learn more about the molecular processes that go on in the human body, specifically what makes it into cells. So our goal today is pretty basic. We're making up a little bit for yesterday's time. If you come into groups here, it'll look different in a minute, but our goal is to become experts on asthma and diabetes to determine if that is the cause of our patient's tiredness. Is it asthma or diabetes? By the end of the day tomorrow, we'll be making those predictions, but we have 2 more days of research. So today's goal is we're going to create the slide with a screenshot of your model showing how molecules travel the body. I want everybody to know how to use screenshots because those are very helpful to our creating fun things if you can screenshot. So we're going to do screenshot it again. That should have been done yesterday, but if not, we'll get that done together. Then we're going to move into 2 slides at the top because we're good at making slideshows. When we do a slideshow correctly, when you research something, when you do some visual evidence, and when you write an analysis, you're going to be pretty good expert on that topic. So we're going to have 2 slides at the top by tomorrow's class, one on asthma, one on diabetes, the classic concept visual cited research slides. You can write a CER if you want, but you do not have to. And we're going to get that research or cited evidence from an article. And the article will be linked here along with this video. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is in your slideshow, remember you have your slides. We have this chart here, which would be, we're going to get that done together quickly. Look at this. We'll do it right now. Starch goes into mouth. Starch goes into stomach. Starch changes to glucose. Then glucose to blood. Hold on a second. And then, get rid of that. And then glucose to cell. Okay, now how do we know that? I'll show you in a second. But first, I want to get this done. And then we will do together the model. What about protein? We saw protein yesterday. And everybody, you need to write this down. You need to make this slide. You need to do one of these. Protein. Let's say food into mouth. Proteins in stomach. Now that's a change, so we would put a change arrow there. And then we do another change, proteins to amino acids, okay? So we've got that down, and then similar to glucose, amino acids to blood, which is the circulatory system. I'm just writing it short because we don't have that much room. And then amino acids to cell. So now we have glucose into the cell. We have amino acids into the cell. Both of those went through the circulatory system. Keep that in mind. Now oxygen's a little bit different. We have air in mouth. No changes, air in lungs. No changes, air in circulatory. Everything goes into that circulatory. The blood carries air. The blood is what carries, the blood is the life force of, and you see that in a lot of our ancient texts tying into religion, that the blood is the life force. Air into circulatory, which another word for that is blood. And then we have air into cell. Now, I'm calling it air, but we're focusing on oxygen. All right, let's take a minute, get this slide done. I'm going to leave it on the screen. Good job. Now, let's put this into practice to really lock in our knowledge. Now, I've already worked on Jordan's a little bit. Let's go to somebody else's. Let's drop down and just see if we have somebody. I don't use that often. It'd be nice if Olivier was here. I think Marissa was here. Let's tap into Marissa's. All right, I'm going to open that up. Now this video right now is going to show you, in case the sim machine doesn't work, you can just use the video we're going to use. So let's take a look. She has this. This will be filled out because she'll be doing that in class with what we just did. Now we have screenshot of your model here. Let's make our screenshot now. How do we do that? We come down. We used this evidence. We should know that by now. We use the sim. If you need to use it again, you can, but you really don't need it because we now have the chart. We watch this video, which shows another way that we get oxygen using parts of our body. And then we can come down to our key concepts that we need to know. Cells can only use molecules that are small enough to enter a cell. The respiratory system brings in oxygen molecules from the air. These oxygen molecules are already small enough to fit in the cells. The digestive system brings in food and breaks it down into smaller molecules, such as glucose and amino acids that can fit into cells. And the circulatory, we're calling that blood in our chart, circulatory system transports glucose, oxygen, and amino acid molecules to every cell in the body. Now, let's make our model right now. So come down here, you're going to click your model. You're going to log in if you haven't already. Busy day today, busy day today. And now, remember, I've made this one, so yours will look different. I'm going to get rid of that. How do I reset? I'm going to reset. All your previous will be lost. Yeah, I want to reset. I'm fine with it. So what we did here, here's the model I want you to show me. I'm going to help you in a minute, but see if you can do it on your own. We just covered what oxygen does. We just covered what starch does. And we just saw glucose we did not cover as much. So let's watch glucose. Remember, I'm going to play with this. I'm going to let you do the labeling. I'll do some of it. Number one, step one, starch comes in the mouth. Where does it go next? If we go back to our simulation machine, that's what I needed to do first, then we can watch this, and I'm going to show you as quick as possible for those that are struggling. Uh-oh. There it is. Simulation machine. Get into your simulation machine, and we have a healthy body, and let's just click play. Now remember, once you click play, that's oxygen. So you can look at your oxygen, and remember, we're going to recreate this. What's step one? Probably here when it came in. What's step two? What is this? It comes into the lungs. What's step three? Oxygen comes into the respiratory. What is step four? Comes into the cell. Notice the oxygen stays the same. Now starch, yesterday we got a little bit impatient. I believe we did protein. Let's go ahead and do a sandwich because it has everything. Watch the sandwich come in. Now that's starch and that's protein. So we have our starches, we have our proteins. Uh-oh, what just popped up? Some fiber in there. Now we're not focusing on fiber today, but it's an important thing. We're focusing on the starches and the proteins. So let's get rid of fiber, not to confuse us. Now notice there's a couple of glucoses have popped up. Where did that come from? Let's see what happens if we watch carefully to these starches, because we stopped too soon. Watch carefully. There's two glucoses. Oh, where did those glucoses come from? There was only two. There were these starches in here. There's 9 starches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 glucoses. Let's watch for another second. Now let's see what's going on. And proteins are leaving. I don't see anything going into the blood yet. The starch and the glucose. Whoa! We just lost some of our glucose. Then we have 9. We lost all of our glucose. Does that mean no more glucose in here? Let's find out. There's 9 of these starches. Let's see what happens next. If anything interesting pops up, this is what happened yesterday. We did not wait long enough. Let's up our speed to 2. Let's see what happens. There. Oh, what just happened there? Bam. What just happened there? Starches are gone. Now we have glucose. That means the glucose is coming from the starches. Now move over here to this area. Do you see any glucose over here? Let's see if any of these enter the cell. Oh, there they go. So what is entering the cell? Glucose, amino acid, and oxygen. Do you see any proteins? I do not see any proteins. We see water, we see oxygen, and we see some protein coming in, and we did just see a glucose come in, and it gets used quickly because sugar gets burned quickly. And then the mitochondria starts creating things. All right, so there's your little overview of that. Make your way over back to the modeling. We had our sim, and now we have our modeling tool. I'm going to give you a second to do that. At any point, you can pause this video. Just pause it, do the work, just go back, look at what we need to do. So let's go back. So here we have our starches, phase 1. Where's the next place the starches go? Stomach. Did anything happen in the stomach? We might have to go back and look at our sim tool. Because if we click this, that was the stomach. Is there any, does the stomach send anything anywhere? There's only one way out of the stomach. That's into the small intestine. Where does the small intestine send things? Into the large intestine or into the circulatory system? So that's kind of important. Let's go back to our modeling tool. Is anything happening in the stomach? No. So let's bring it back to here. Here's where we saw change happen. So you're going to bring your arrow. And what did the starch change into? Glucose. Thank you. So now we have our glucose. Then where did the glucose go? Into the circulatory, and we only need one. But we can actually move over here, but that's not another step because we know that will go there. Notice glucose storage might go into here. Let's use another glucose because we know it makes it in here. And now let's count our steps. 1, we already have. 2. The change is 3. Into the blood system, circulatory system is 4. Into the cells, 5. So we'll call that 5 steps to make it into the cells. We're not really focused on the glucose storage. So there you go. I'm going to give you a second in your model. You can just do what I did to get us used to it, and then on your own, I will have you do the oxygen one, which is quick. Notice we are not doing the protein one here. We know about it, but we're not doing that. So let's just let you get this done. When you have this done, can you do the oxygen one? I'll get you started. Comes in through the mouth. That's step 1. Then it goes somewhere. Then it goes somewhere else. So let's do the oxygen one. And I'll give you a couple minutes now, and then we're going to do the screenshot. All right, get working. So everybody should look like this. Let's go ahead and finish up the oxygen one. That comes into the lungs. Oxygen goes into the heart, circulatory system, blood vessels, and oxygen ends up in cells. And we can do our steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it gets there in 4 steps. Notice no changes to the oxygen. The cell can take it as is. Notice the starch had to be broken down into glucose, which it made it there. And we aren't doing protein, but if we did, you'd see protein would have to turn into amino acids. All right, let's screenshot. You guys, we all have different devices. You can literally take a picture with your phone and send it to upload it to your Google Drive. On a Mac, you do Shift Command 4, and it gives me a little arrow. On a Chromebook, we'll talk about it in class, but just look up on the internet how to screenshot a Chromebook. That's how you find out things. Look on Google. How do I screenshot on my Chromebook? Read the directions, you screenshot. Now once you screenshot, we just want the picture itself. I have it over here. Good idea to open it and find out where it is. For you guys, it should be in your Google Drive. So I'm going to do that. Done there. Now we come back and let's go to Marissa's. Marissa, your lucky day here. Come back to the top and let's get our screenshot in here. Okay. So I'm going to insert image, upload from computer. Yours might be on your drive. It probably is. That does take a little bit of trickery sometimes to find those things. And sometimes it takes a second to find it. So we'll see. I might not spend too much time here. Hold on. Sometimes you can go to Recents and it says today's screenshot. There it is. And boom, now we have a screenshot so we can refer to this model later. Now, if you want to get fancy, you could also screenshot your sim activity. That might be kind of fun because this shows a lot. So, for example, if I made my sandwich and I had a sandwich come into play, I could wait a little bit. I could click pause. Remember, I was on 2 times speed. And I could take a screenshot of that and see all the things going on in my body. So screenshots are very helpful. All right, we have our screenshot here. Let me give everybody a second to do that. And if you get behind, remember, we can catch up because we have one more activity to do today. Full day today. Here we go. Let's get going again. Let's try somebody else's slide now. Let's try. I don't remember seeing Jesse's that often. If I can find it. Well, let's use somebody from another class. How about that? I should be jumping around classes. Esmeralda needs to open hers if you want me to help you. Oh my goodness. Caitlin. We can use Caitlin's today. Why not? Sounds fun. So let's take a look at Caitlin's. Caitlin, this is your slide. Good job. Nice to have it open to see things. As we know, we're learning about metabolism. We have filled that out. We will have a screenshot there. And now what we're going to work on is we're just going to create two nice concept slides because we are researching two topics. And when we research topics, you guys are great at this already. So just consider it just like our regular slideshow. We're going to do a slide on asthma. And let's make another slide. And we're going to make a slide on diabetes. Now these are just classic slides. Find your visual support. Find some cited research. But the cited research, I'm going to show you where to get that cited research. That's the only difference. You're not going to go to the internet. But your visuals you can get from the article, you can get from the internet, and you can do some of your own research if you want. But we want to become experts on diabetes and asthma by end of class tomorrow so we can see, is that the problem that our patient has? So the article we're going to read is actually linked in groups. So let's go take a look at that. So let's take a look. We got another message from Dr. Walker, MD. Our subject, Elisa. The hospital medical team has gone over Elisa's data, and we agree that she is getting enough sleep and eating the right kinds of foods. We think that she might have a medical condition that is causing her symptoms, and we're going to run some tests on her. In the meantime, we want you to learn about several conditions that could cause the symptoms Elisa is experiencing. This will prepare you to analyze Elisa's test results. So let's come down here. Based on Elisa's symptoms, Dr. Walker is considering 4 conditions: diabetes, anemia, injury to her pancreas, or asthma. And we're going to focus on diabetes and asthma today. That's why you guys are going to make 2 informational slides, one on diabetes, one on asthma, top of the slideshow, so we can really understand those sicknesses. Just like doctors, you'll be comparing Elisa's test results to results from healthy patients to try to make a diagnosis. Now look at these cases. Here's somebody that has anemia, a girl that has asthma, somebody that has diabetes, glucose locked out. Injury to the pancreas means you have trouble digesting, so that would be in your digestive system. Asthma is struggling to breathe, so it would be in your respiratory system. Anemia is actually a cellular problem. And then diabetes is where your glucose gets locked out. So that's a sugar glucose. We saw that glucose pocket for getting into your cells. So interesting. So we're going to study that right now. Let's find our article and get going. So when we read an article, this is the article you're going to get your cited research from. You know, I usually go to the internet and we get our evidence or cited research or internet research, whatever you want to call it, that goes in your slide. Well, today we want those things to be from this article. So, and I don't want big chunks because remember, we want to practice getting small pieces of evidence to support our claims. So we're not writing the claim evidence reasoning today. We're just getting the evidence. So we're looking about asthma and we're looking for diabetes. So we need small quotes, 3 of them, to just give us information because we're not really doing a claim evidence reasoning today. We're just doing an informational slide because we're researching. So look for that as we read. As always, follow along with the text and the read aloud.
Patient stories, problems with body systems. With every breath and every bite of food, the human body takes in millions of molecules. These molecules are so small that they can't be seen under a common microscope. But the body can't live without them. How can something so tiny be so important to the health of the whole body? When everything works properly, The body gets certain molecules from food and from the air. The molecules enter the cells of the body and provide everything the cells need to be healthy. Healthy cells make up healthy organs, and healthy organs work together in systems to keep the body breathing, moving, thinking, and releasing energy. The relationship between molecules and health isn't just a cool idea. Tiny molecules can actually make a person feel better or worse. Sometimes people get sick because their cells aren't getting the molecules they need. When this happens, we say the person has a medical condition. Doctors often look for medical conditions when a patient's symptoms don't seem to be caused by something like bacteria or a virus. In many cases, people can manage medical conditions by taking medicine to make sure their bodies get the molecules they need. Anemia, red blood cell shortage. My story. A few months ago, I was feeling tired all the time. I tried taking it easy and getting extra sleep, but that didn't help. I even started feeling like I was going to faint sometimes. My dad took me to the doctor and she tested my blood. She said my red blood cell count was lower than normal, and the amount of oxygen in my blood was also lower than normal. Based on the blood test, the doctor gave me a diagnosis: anemia. I asked the doctor about anemia. I wanted to know what it was and how I got it. She said anemia means having fewer red blood cells than a healthy person does. Patient stories, problems with body systems. With every breath and every bite of food, the human body takes in millions of molecules. These molecules are so small that they can't be seen under a common microscope, but the body can't live without them. How can something so tiny be so important to the health of the whole body? When everything works properly, the body gets certain molecules from food and from the air. The molecules enter the cells of the body and provide everything the cells need to be healthy. Healthy cells make up healthy organs, and healthy organs work together in systems to keep the body breathing, moving, thinking, and releasing energy. The relationship between molecules and health isn't just a cool idea.
I think that's the same introduction from before, so here we go on asthma.
Tiny molecules can actually make a person feel better or worse. Sometimes people get sick because their cells aren't getting the molecules they need. When this happens, we say the person has a medical condition. Doctors often look for medical conditions when a patient's symptoms don't seem to be caused by something like bacteria or a virus. In many cases, people can manage medical conditions by taking medicine to make sure their bodies get the molecules they need. Asthma, struggling to breathe. My story. I found out I have asthma. I would sometimes have trouble breathing, especially when I exercised during PE class. If I ran home from the bus stop, I would have trouble catching my breath afterward. It felt like my chest was tightening up and it was hard to breathe. I would make a noise when I was trying to breathe, and my mom told me that was called wheezing. I went to the doctor and she listened to my lungs, did some other tests, and asked me a lot of questions about when I have a hard time breathing. She said I have asthma. This diagnosis means that if something like exercise or dust irritates my lungs, the tubes inside my lungs swell up. When the tubes swell, they get narrow and not as much air can get through. That can make it hard to breathe. How asthma affects my body. The doctor explained that asthma affects more than just your breathing. She said that when you breathe in, you pull oxygen molecules from the air into your respiratory system. In your respiratory system, the oxygen moves through smaller and smaller tubes deep into your lungs. Inside the lungs are tiny structures called alveoli. In the alveoli, oxygen molecules move from the respiratory system into the blood of the circulatory system. Your blood carries those oxygen molecules throughout your circulatory system, delivering oxygen to all the cells of your body. Because of asthma, the tiny tubes in my lungs were squeezing shut, and I wasn't getting as many oxygen molecules into my respiratory system as a healthy person would. Because there was less oxygen in my respiratory system, there was less oxygen moving into the blood in my circulatory system. With too little oxygen in my blood, not enough oxygen was getting to my cells. Cells need oxygen. Without oxygen, cells can't do any of the things they need to do for the body to function. I wasn't doing well because my cells weren't doing well. How I stay healthy. The doctor gave me an inhaler to help me breathe when I have an asthma attack. The inhaler stops the tubes in my lungs from swelling, keeping the tubes wide and letting me breathe in more oxygen. The doctor also told me to be careful of certain things, like lots of dust. For instance, the playing fields at my school can get really dusty. When that happens, I should try not to play sports outside. I still participate in PE class, but I tell the teacher when I need to use my inhaler or take a short break. Now I know what causes my asthma attacks and how to take care of myself so they don't happen as often.
All right, so I'm going to make a little adjustment here. We said earlier in the video we were going to do both articles, but I think that is enough for today. So today we're just going to focus on asthma, and tomorrow we'll dive into diabetes. So this is the main area. We have our introduction back here. You can go look at that. You guys have access to this article. Remember, this guy was anemia, but we skipped him. We did read the introduction twice. And now we have this. So here's where I want you to get your evidence for asthma. So right now, let's all go into our slide. Let's go to Caitlin's. We're going to make this adjustment. Diabetes is not due till tomorrow. If you're ahead of the game, you can work on that. Let's just focus on asthma today. So on asthma, if I come back to our article and I look down, what do I want? I want information about asthma. Well, we can get that from the title. Asthma is when you struggle to breathe. We have something here. Asthma is a condition that makes it difficult to breathe. That seems pretty good. I found out I have asthma. I sometimes have trouble. Now, that's a story, but those quotes could come in handy to make your slide about asthma important. Maybe you have asthma. Maybe you know somebody that has asthma. You can bring your own life experiences into this slide. So as we come down here, we look along and we find different information about asthma. Remember, we want 3 quotes. So because of asthma, the tiny tubes in my lungs were squeezing shut. So I might use that one. I like it. And oh, look at this place. I forgot this one even has nice little highlighting techniques. And I'm going to put that. And look at here. Copy. And then I come back to Caitlin's slideshow. And I can paste. It's probably going to make me do the V. So now remember, this is our cited research, and we want 3 of these. 3 of these cited research that if you read all 3, you would have enough information for a CER. That we're not going to do a CER today on this, but we have enough information. And then what? We want to go get our visuals. How do we get our visuals? We search the internet. Asthma, if I spell it right. And I can go to images. Oh, that was a great picture right there. I just saw a good one. And look at all these great pictures that show how asthma works. And as I've said before, often you can learn a lot about asthma. I'm going to take this one, drag that in there. And now Caitlin is off and running with her asthma slide. We can learn all about asthma from a picture, and you can learn it from your 3 citations. All right, so that's the final activity of the day. Just to review it all, we are going to create a slide, screenshot. We walk through that. And we're going to create a concept visual cited research slide on asthma. And we are going to get rid of 3 because it's too much for today. And then this is perfect for that. All right, we are good to go. Get it done. We'll look at these slides on Wednesday and learn from your work like we like to do. Get going.